Awesome. Thanks very much, Carlos, for showing us around this crazy massive hall here at E3. The hits just keep on coming, folks. We've got Lost Planet 3 here. Andrew Szymanski and Matt is going to play for us as well. Guys, Lost Planet 3, bit of a change up this year. What's the story?
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, we knew that we wanted to do a third game in the Lost Planet franchise, but we really wanted to kind of take it in the most extreme direction that it's ever been. In order to do that, we decided to go back in the past chronologically to show kind of EDN 3, which is the planet that the game takes place in its most extreme state. And so we've set it up as a prequel, and we're really proud of it.
Awesome. So in terms of the Acrid, is this going to maybe tell us a little bit more about where they came from, or is it going to sort of shine a light on previous Lost Planet games, considering it is a prequel story?
Definitely. It's because it is the first in the series chronologically, you'll be able to jump in and pick up and play, even if you've never played the other ones. But if you have played the other ones, it'll really kind of give you a good background into kind of what goes into the Lost Planet franchise. You'll see hints and things that kind of connect this with the first two games, including a little bit of a glimpse into the larger ecology of the Acrid. Yeah.
So for new players, we're just having a look at the gameplay here.
Yes.
How does it control in comparison to previous Lost Planet games? Are you keeping it the same in terms of the way it feels, the way characters move within the environment, the jumping, all that sort of stuff, or is it a sort of a new take on it?
I'd say it's a little new. We're keeping a lot of things similar to make sure that the things that people know and love about Lost Planet, we want to make sure it's still seen as an installment in the franchise. But we have kind of tweaked the controls to make them a little bit easier to pick up and play for people who are used to playing shooters. It is a third-person shooter, and so you things like left trigger to zoom, right trigger to fire. We've tweaked the controls a little bit. We've also sort of, I want to say slowed it down, but we made it a little bit more deliberate. So you're not going to be jumping, and bounding about quite as much. You will still be able to roll in order to evade. You'll still have the grappling hook for traversal and things like that. But it is going to be a little bit more of a deliberate pacing.
Just looking at the demo we have here, I can't help but notice that we're fighting a giant enemy crab.
Yes.
Was that an intentional thing to do, to attack it for massive damage and its weak point, or did you guys fall into that meme unintentionally?
No, that was unintentional. I'm glad that people have found some humor in it. Actually, the story behind this enemy, he's shot off a few of them, but you can see those spines on the back.
Yeah.
And the idea is it actually waits inside the ground, inside of the snow, with those stalactites kind of protruding out to make it look like part of the environment.
Okay.
And then it waits for its prey to come and then jumps out. And we actually base that off of behavior of actual Earth animals. I forget the name of it, but there's a crab that actually does that. It waits, and blends into the environment. So.
Presumably not as large as this one.
No, I would hope not.
So in terms of variety in the enemies that you face, are we seeing a lot of returning beasts from the first one, or is there new types of Acrid that we haven't seen before? And how do you do that in a game that essentially is going backwards in time?
Right, you're going to see a lot of new ones. In fact, all the ones in our E3 demo that we're showing on the floor here are all new for LP3, but we have some returning favorites as well. And how we do that is, once again, to explain that in the past, the environment of this planet was actually the most intense and the coldest it's ever been.
Okay.
And as some people who've played the series will know, the planet kind of gets warmer as we go along through terraforming. So, the idea is that some species went extinct as the planet warmed up. Yeah.
So how far in the past is this set before Lost Planet?
It's several decades before the first one. Yeah.
And in terms of characters, is there a crossover between the protagonist in this game and the other ones?
There's no crossover with the protagonist because it is such a span of time, but we've actually got some cool connections in some of the other characters. One of the characters that you'll meet in the E3 demo is Gale. He's your mechanic that works on your utility rig. And he actually goes on to be the father of Wayne, who's the protagonist from LP1. So we do have a lot of cool connections in there.
So how does the campaign work for people who haven't played previous Lost Planet games? You guys tend to sort of shy away a little bit from a strictly linear campaign. There's lots of side quests, things like that going on.
Yeah, this is very much a very open game. It's not a true open world game in that sense because we want to keep things focused on Jim and on the story. But it is very much a situation in which you're going to be going in and you'll have sort of a main kind of mission path, if you will. That's kind of your story missions that guide you through. And then you also have various side quests. And as you're playing throughout the game, you'll unlock new areas, and then you'll be able to kind of freely go back and forth. So the easiest way to think about it is that the game will kind of prod you to explore.
Sure.
And the more you explore, the more areas you unlock, and then you can access those at any time.
Cool. Just while we're playing the gameplay here, just to remind folks that if you want to send us a question, tweet us with hashtag GameSpotE3, or feel free if you're watching the stream on GameSpot.com to put an email at the bottom, and I will try my bestest to try and ask a question. Could you just explain what's going on here in terms of what we're watching on the
actually,
gameplay?
this is a really cool point in the demo. If you want to spin back around and just look at the way we came. So as you might have noticed, after we fought the boss there, we planted the thermal posts, which actually sucks up thermal energy, which is a resource from the ground. And when it does that, it basically causes this heat wave that's melted things away from the environment.
Okay.
So we're finding a lot of things here that have been buried, and this is actually one of the key plot points in the game, is that Jim and the other colonists have been told that they're some of the first colonists on the planet, but now he's finding these structures buried in ice, and that's one of the mysteries he has to solve. So we're going to exit out and load up a new area, so
sure.
We'll talk a little bit while we do that.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So those posts, those thermal posts you put down, can you put those wherever you want, or is that tied into the narrative?
Those actually, if you find survey maps in the environment, they'll list kind of all the locations where you can go and plant those posts, and it's one of our sort of optional pieces of content in the game. You go and you plant those posts, and then you can come back later to harvest that thermal energy. And the thermal energy you get from the posts and the thermal energy that you get from defeating the enemies, you can actually then exchange for upgrades, new weapons, upgrades to Jim's abilities, and things like that.
Do you guys kind of cornered the market on sci-fi games based on icy planets? So what do you guys think when you see Dead Space 3 stepping onto your territory like that?
Well, I'm flattered. I mean, obviously, we LP1 came out in 2006.
Sure.
And I'm really glad that you recognize that we were in that space. We do feel like we've been in that space for a long time, and we're bringing it back even more intense with LP3. So you know what? Dead Space is a great series, and I can't wait to see. They just announced this week. I can't wait to see what they bring out. But we're going to continue to kind of show EDN3, which is our world, really as this alien frozen world. It's not Antarctica. It's this very alien space. And actually, we've got a new section loaded up here showing off some more of our new Acrid creatures. And we think that they're really unique because they do have their own ecosystem. They exist outside of the player's actions.
So this game is being developed by Spark, am I right?
That's correct. Yes.
So what's it been like having sort of this external developer relationship? And presumably this is the first Lost Planet game that they've worked on.
Yes. It's actually been really rewarding to work with them. I mean, obviously there's any challenges when you're trying to take a series that's been developed internally and then, work with an external partner. But the key here is the partnership and the collaboration. We didn't just say, hey, Lost Planet 3, go take the ball and run with it. Oguro-san, who is kind of the creator of the entire Lost Planet franchise and was the director of the first two games, he and I traveled to Los Angeles. We talked to Spark. We came up with the concept together, and he's been involved literally from the first step to make sure that this meets his vision of what he wanted. So it's very much a joint collaboration. The core concepts and the direction coming from Capcom, and then Spark kind of bringing in their expertise in order to flesh it out.
In terms of multiplayer or cooperative gameplay modes, do you have anything on offer in terms of that?
Well, we are going to have multiplayer. It's very important to the franchise, and we recognize that. We aren't really talking about the multiplayer modes yet. We're still kind of working on those. But over the next couple of months, as we get closer to releasing, we'll be showing a lot of detail on all of our multiplayer modes, both competitive and cooperative.
User Microblocks has asked the question, how limited are you in this game in terms of your ability to walk around the environment?
You're not limited at all. Anything that you can see that's not obviously in the distance. I mean, if it's miles away, that's one thing. But anything that you can see in the environment that it looks like it's traversable will be traversable. And in fact, there's a lot of really cool elements in where, as you're getting new abilities as Jim, you're actually able to unlock areas that you weren't able to access before.
Okay.
So you might be walking through a stage and say, hey, look at that crag up there, or look at that cave over there. I bet I can go in there. I don't know yet. I don't know how yet. And then when you get a certain upgrade, you'll then be able to access that area.
User RayKT has asked what engine is being used for the graphics here. Are you guys working off of Lost Planet 1 and 2 tech, or is this new tech we're looking at here?
This is new tech. This is actually running on Unreal Engine 3.
Okay.
But we're really happy with how we've been able to kind of tweak that engine to make it show the kind of art direction that we want, and it really sells the world.
Do the explosions look as sexy as they did in the first two games?
Is the what?
Do the explosions look as sexy as they used to?
I think they're pretty sexy. We're still trying to blow out the VFX, so we expect to get even better as we go along. Yeah.
Just in terms of what we're looking at here again, I feel like we're missing out on some awesome action here up on the gameplay. We just saw them hopping out of a mech. How are they going to be used in this game? Well, I guess vehicles and mechanics have always been
this is the utility rig, and it's actually an ancestor to the vital suits from the first 2 Lost Planet games. And it is originally designed as a piece of construction equipment. As you can see, it's got a claw and a drill.
Yeah.
And these are originally intended to lay down pipeline and put up prefab buildings. But the player, after he learns how to use those attachments, actually then has to figure out how to improvise to actually defeat enemies with those.
Maxwell780 wants to play it as soon as possible. He's wondering if there's going to be a demo.
Can't say for sure yet.
Early days.
Early days. You know, we're not shipping till early 2013, but we do realize that a lot of people got into Lost Planet by playing the demo for the first game, so it's definitely on our radar for sure.
Are you guys going to have split screen offline mode like in Lost Planet 2? There's a question from Amir Motion.
Split screen what mode?
Co-op.
Co-op. We're not going to have split screen. That's a decision that we made. I know it's going to disappoint some people, but it was basically came down to a choice of either we have split screen with a little bit less fidelity in the environments for multiplayer, or you know we have to really kind of bump up the fidelity. So we chose kind of the fidelity portion of it. And like I said, we'll be showing more on the multiplayer in the months ahead, and I think people will like what they see.
Akash Mahood has asked, is it in 3D?
Stereoscopic?
Apparently. I didn't know people actually wanted that.
Yeah, haven't made a decision on that, but I'm not hearing a lot of requests for it. So that's something that if we did do, it would be laid on in the process. Yeah.
Justin's asked, I haven't played any of the Lost Planet series before. Will I have had to play those previous games to understand the story or gameplay mechanics of Lost Planet 3?
No, you won't. And that's the beauty of it being a prequel, is that you can jump right in this world. The game starts when Jim, the character, has arrived on the planet, so you're learning along with him. And once again, we've tweaked the controls to make them very easy to pick up and play. So if you played other shooters like Call of Duty, you know, or third-person shooters like Gears of War, it should be very intuitive how to play the controls. And then we'll teach you in the game how to use the utility rig, how to use the various abilities that Jim has.
Cool. Have we reached the end of the gameplay demo here, or we keep going?
No, we can keep going for sure.
Let's explore a bit more.
Sure, if you don't mind, we can load out and show and go to another section.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, so we'll chat while he's loading. The final section that we'll show actually is how you use the utility rig to fight the large Akrid.
How have you seen the sort of reaction to this game? Being a prequel, are people happy about it, sort of showing a new side to Lost Planet, or did they want to continue what was going on in the previous 2 games?
So far, the reaction, both, you know, obviously for us internally at Capcom, but also when we showed the game at Captivate back in April when we announced it, you know, the response from the press and the media, everybody's been really positive. And I think it's because of our character. And it's hard to tell just from looking at the gameplay demo. You really have to come down and look at the show floor or look at our E3 trailer. But we've really tried to make put a lot of effort into making Jim a sympathetic guy. He's not just kind of this cipher that you jump in and just start playing as. You know, he's got a wife and kid back home he's trying to provide for. He's kind of this blue-collar everyman type guy who's really, when the game first starts, is just trying to earn a living and survive. And he's working with his fellow colonists, you know, to eke out an existence. And I think that characterization, you know, our voice acting, our performance capture, where we have actual actors providing the likenesses for the characters, all of that I think really brings you into the world of Lost Planet in a way that people have never seen before, and makes the characters really people you want to spend time with.
Cool. So we've loaded up this new section here.
Yes.
What's going on here?
So this is near the end of our E3 demo, and basically we have to get back to our rig so we can go back to base, but we're going to have a little bit of a impediment in doing that. So earlier we fought this crab creature, as you remember, on foot, but now we're going to actually jump into the utility rig. We're going to jump actually into the utility rig, and we're going to fight this another crab creature like we saw earlier, but we're going to actually fight it now in the rig. So this showcases one of our great features in the game, which is an enemy that is really a threat on foot. When you get into the rig, you know, by its very nature, is going to be much easier to defeat. So he's going to kind of use this drill here. Oops, looks like we got knocked out. He's going to jump back in. So you can use the claw arm to grab your enemies. You can use the drill to bash the enemies. And once again, because you're sheltered and you're protected, you know, it makes it a lot easier. So one of the themes that we have is this theme of escalation. Now you can see him, he's drilling the weak point. So on foot, you would have shot that with the gun. Here it's like, you know, peeling the shell off a lobster, so to speak. So speaking about escalation, the idea that, you know, there's always a bigger fish in the sea, so to speak. So you're fighting little small enemies on foot, which are really easy to beat. Then you fight a boss. That's quite a challenge. When you jump in the rig, that same boss now is not a challenge.
Yeah.
But then you're going to run into things that are going to be challenged even in the rig, that even dwarf the rig.
How durable is the rig?
I'm sorry?
How durable is the rig?
It's quite durable, and it also has an auto repair feature. So earlier when he got knocked out from getting attacked, all he had to do was kind of circle around, let the rig repair itself, and jump back in. So you'll definitely feel more protected. And now we've defeated the crab by basically going directly into its core with the drill.
We saw in the reveal trailer the first time we saw the game there was sort of a large torrent of snow coming your way. How is the sort of environment going to play into mechanics?
It's going to be very important. The environment,
in terms of weather and whatnot.
Yeah, the weather is always changing on EDN3. In fact, we have a dynamic weather system that allows us to change the weather on the fly as we're playing. So some sequences will be scripted, as part of the story. Snow comes in, you have to rush back to the base to help protect the people that are in the base. And in some areas, because it is a very exploration-heavy game, in some areas, as you're walking through places that you've been before, you'll see the weather dynamically change, and it reduces visibility. It changes what type of acrid enemies appear and things like that. So it's a way for us to continually give the player something new. So even as you're exploring areas that you might have already been to, you're going to be constantly seeing new information.
Is that an electrical storm we can see there in the background?
Yeah, that was part of our storm system, as a matter of fact.
I have a question here from Thomas Vickers. He's asking what sort of variety will there be within the levels and environments? Presumably you're not going to have a forest level and lava level.
That's correct. In Lost Planet 2, because the planet had been warmed, they had forests, they had deserts and things like that. For this, once again, it's extreme conditions. It's about freezing cold and really kind of that foreboding nature. That being said, we know people don't want to see snow for the whole game. So you're going to see a good mix of exterior segments that really kind of show off the vastness of the world and the landscapes. You're going to have kind of being inside of caves where it's still cold and it's still, very threatening, but you're in sort of a claustrophobic type atmosphere. And I don't want to give too much away, but later on in the game, you're actually going to be traveling to entirely new areas throughout the planet that are going to show you new color palettes and introduce new factions and things like that. So I think people are going to be really impressed with the variety.
Awesome. Andrew, Matt, thanks very much for showing us this.
Thanks so much.
When can we see it on store shelves and on what platforms?
This is Lost Planet 3 is going to be out in early 2013 for Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC.
Cool. Will there be a giant enemy crab with the limited edition version?
We'll think about it.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. And next up on the show 4, we've got Crysis 3, so make sure to stick around.